The most dangerous chemical weapons in Syria's arsenal are likely to be destroyed at sea in an American-led operation, but the destruction of others will be put out to private tenders. That's according to Ahmet Uzumcu, the Director General of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, the OPCW. He's been speaking to my colleague Felicity Barr in an exclusive interview.
If you end up having to destroy the most toxic of these chemicals out at sea, how would that work? Who would provide the facility to do that?
There are already some facilities which are manufactured by the United States and which can be transported easily and installed easily, either on a ship or on land. So I think the Americans will provide these facilities.
So it looks like that would be an American-led side of...
For the Category 1, we expect that they will take the lead.
And Uzumcu has also raised the possibility of private companies getting involved in the disposal process. He made an appeal for those with appropriate expertise to come forward.
The second category are with regard to less toxic substances, and which are comparable, in fact, to those chemicals which would be available for commercial industrial purposes and can be destroyed in commercial disposal facilities. And for the second category, we already made an appeal yesterday, and we asked to commercial companies which might be interested, in fact, in taking over the destruction of those. Of course, you know, it has to be done within a certain time frame, and we asked how much would it cost. So for that purpose, we established a special trust fund, and we are expecting state parties to contribute to this trust fund.
Now, the OPCW has a schedule drawn up in which Syria's weapons should be destroyed, and so far it says it's going well. The deal was agreed by the US, Russia and Syria, and the details are that Syria was to submit a list of its chemical weapons by the 20th of September this year. Assad's government met that deadline. On the 31st of October, the OPCW confirmed Syria had destroyed or rendered inoperable all of its declared facilities for mixing and producing chemical weapons. And the final deadline calls for the complete destruction of Syria's chemical weapons by no later than the 30th of June next year. Now, I'm now joined by Richard Guthrie in Sydney. He's a chemical weapons expert and former project leader with the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. Thank you very much indeed for being on Al Jazeera. First of all, on this possibility of Syria's chemical weapons being destroyed at sea, has that ever been done before? Is it feasible technically?
Well, we have to be very careful about being clear what is being discussed here. This is being talked about destroying these materials on a barge at sea, but doing the same process that would be done on land. It is nothing to do with dumping chemical weapons at sea, which some reports have misunderstood the comments from the OPCW. Doing it on a barge, in theory, is no more difficult than doing it on land. The difficulty really is the location of these materials. If these materials had been outside of a war zone, the destruction job wouldn't be particularly hard. It would still be a challenge, but in a war zone, it's a definite challenge.
Right. As you say, they're not exactly then going to be dumping chemical weapons at sea, but I understand that the Syrian munitions could produce liquid waste, so there could still be problems with regards to environmental pollution, couldn't they?
Oh, absolutely. All toxic chemicals, when they're reduced to various components, you often have intermediate stages which are themselves toxic. What the final disposal of these materials will be very difficult. Now, in normal circumstances, in, for example, the Russian and United States chemical weapons destruction programs, there are very clear standards set for how safe the products are that come out of those, and that is a very important feature. At the moment, I think the key thing is to ensure that the Syrian chemical weapons materials are put beyond use. Now, if there is an intermediate stage where there is some hazardous waste that has to be stored to be further destroyed or further dealt with later, that's less of a problem than leaving toxic chemical materials that could be turned into weapons in the hands of the Syrian government.
Now, countries like Albania or Norway and France, Belgium, who have the expertise and the facilities to destroy these chemical weapons, have all rejected the request made by the US to take in Syria's chemical weapons. Now they're considering, the OPCW is considering calling in private companies. Do you think that's the way to go? Does that pose any risk at all to go through private companies to destroy Syria's chemical weapons?
The key thing will be the technique that is used to destroy the chemicals and to render them safe, not necessarily precisely who's doing this. This is a classical where the technical meets political problem. There are technical challenges to this, but there are political costs for anybody who is hosting these materials. You know, Norway, Belgium or Albania would suffer a political, a financial, and conceivably, if there was an accident, an environmental cost if they were to destroy these weapons. It's a classic problem of politics where the costs and benefits don't fall on the same people. You know, the whole world benefits from Syria's chemical weapons being destroyed, but any one country that destroys them carries much of the cost.
All right, Mr. Guthrie, thank you very much indeed for sharing your knowledge with us. Richard Guthrie is a chemical weapons expert joining us there live from Sydney. Thanks for your time.